final show in UFC Talk.
Good evening and welcome to NUFC Talk with me, Boaky, and Christina. We're doing the final shout show tonight. Hello, how are you doing this evening, Tina?
I'm absolutely fantastic. A little bit jumpy because I did just have my first go at that new Resident Evil game. But except for that, I'm ready to lock in, calm down, and have a nice leisurely Sunday talking about some football. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Same thing. I haven't been playing Resident Evil. I wouldn't even know how to switch a game on these days. But pleasant day. Watch a little bit of the football and just a restful one, really. Before we do get started, can I ask that you guys out there just whack the like button, subscribe if you're new around here, and if you can, please become a member for a small monthly fee. We love your chats and we'll try to read out as many as possible. However, the only way we can guarantee your chat to be read is if you make it a super chat. And please remember, we're on DAB radio across the Newcastle area. And this evening, as well as the show, we're going to have a little challenge for you guys going on in the chat. We want you to find grounds that Newcastle have played at in England, starting with each letter of the alphabet. So we'll start with A. So any football ground in England that Newcastle have played at, and this can be any time, doesn't have to be in any particular period. Okay, Tina, we came out of last weekend with the defeat over Man City and showing failure in domestic football this season, highlighting the failure in domestic football this season.
Yes, one of us certainly was doing that, weren't we, Boaky?
But looking ahead, we had the Champions League game coming up. How were you feeling at that point? So how were you feeling coming out at the end of last weekend and obviously the crashing out the FA Cup?
I mean, it looked like it was going to be a really tough run. We came out of the FA Cup again to Manchester City. As I said last week, I'm sick of Manchester City knocking us out of cup competitions this season. And I think Mancunian came in and gave me a little bit of sympathy for that one. But yeah, we it was kind of, it was what it was. The performance didn't look fantastic, which did pop up a couple of worries considering the big week we had ahead of us with obviously the Barcelona game and then Chelsea this weekend. But yeah, I don't know. Were you expecting us to do any better than we did in the FA Cup against Manchester City last week?
I was hoping that we could. It was a home game, and you think home tie is always what you ask for. Yeah, it was against a really, really tough opposition, probably one of the toughest we could have got. But I still expect to go out there and put in a great performance. And if we'd done that, and we'd came out of that game thinking we did everything we could there, we just got beat off the better team, I would have been not okay with it, but I would have understood. It was just felt a little bit of a whimper that we went out on, and looking back on it, it didn't feel like we threw everything at them that we could have. We didn't,
Hmm.
it was just it's just obviously because that's a competition I think we could have won at this point. It was just a shame that we couldn't have got through. But what happened, and we moved on to this week. So if we start with Monday, obviously it was the build up to the Barcelona game. What were your feelings on that at this part at that point? Were you thinking we can get a result here? Did you think Eddie's left some eggs in the basket and we can go out and do something?
I mean, you know me, I always expect us to do well. I'm always hopeful that we're going to win a game no matter who the opposition are. I think, on Monday we were all very high on the idea of this being such a historic game. That we talked a lot about the history with the Tino Aspria hat trick back in like 1996, 97, somewhere around there. And it was exciting. It's always exciting to go against Barcelona. I was expecting it to be a very, very tough game. Um, but I've always got a feeling, just like I did against Liverpool in the Carabao Cup last season, that okay, this is going to be the one where we do this, and that was kind of how I was. I was hopeful, but not exactly confident, shall we say?
So you didn't go into that game thinking, oh, this is gonna be a magical night under the lights at St James's. It was sort of a little bit of trepidation there about the game and how it was going to go. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, based mostly on the last time that we played against them. I was happy to see that Rashford wasn't playing, but obviously Yamal was back in the starting lineup for them. So there was I mean, you've always got to be a little bit trepidatious when you're talking about Barcelona. They are one of the the elite teams in world football and have been for the entire time that I've been alive, and I would imagine the entire time that you've been alive as well. I mean, they've always been one of the top clubs that people either aspire to be like, or when people who like in England who've got a favorite Premier League team, you'll always have like a secondary team, and usually it's Barcelona or it's Real Madrid. So we know that they are giants of European football. How did you think? Did you think that we were gonna have much of a chance?
I, if I'm honest, my head said that there was very little chance of we getting any result out of the game. My heart obviously said that we could, and that hopefully we would go into it and put in a great performance and come out with what everybody wanted, end of the day, a victory. But head over heart, as I say, the head was always saying this is going to be a tough game. Um, Monday also soon seen you did the late night show, didn't you, for the first time?
I did. I did do the late night show. I think, to be fair, I think after like I think 3 hours is quite long for me. I loved doing it. I loved being involved. It was nice to be on there with Chris. But yeah, it's quite a for as much as it's just sitting here talking, by the end of it, I was really tired. Like I think I even started getting a little bit bratty because I was just absolutely knackered. I hadn't eaten for like a few hours. I think next time that I'm booked for early night and late night, I'm going to make sure I have a proper meal so that I don't become Christina the brat by about 9:30, just ready to start showing to people. But yeah, it's lovely to be involved in any show on the channel. As you know, you're quite often on both, aren't you?
Yeah, it is tiring when you do the two of them. But quickly moving on, then we had Eddie as well saying in his press conference that it hasn't been a perfect season. Do you think he was understating that a little bit, or do you think it hasn't? It hasn't. He's obviously just saying it hasn't been perfect. Do you think it's been bad? Do you think the presser should have pushed him to say, has it been a bad season? In which case, or do you think that was enough to come from him?
I mean, I still very much stand by the fact that we aren't quite where some of our fan base think we are. Um, and what I mean by that is just simply, I do think we overachieved earlier on since the takeover than we were expecting. Um, it shouldn't really be a surprise because we're Newcastle United. We've got that. There's kind of like an excitement and an energy that came with it. The fans came back to like full voice, if you want, and we really really caught the world by shock, I think, when we first did that takeover, especially considering because this isn't one of those ones where you had the takeover and then we were bringing in the best players in the world. We had, shackles very quickly placed on our spending. And yet, still, the first couple of years under this new regime and under Eddie Howe, we've seen things that, like 5 to 6 years ago, we would have dreamt of. Like, who would have thought Champions League 2 years in a row, a cup? I mean, come on, like, whoever expected Newcastle United to leave any season with any trophy ever? And then this season, I think it's been a bit of a crash back down to reality. I think and hindsight's 2020. I think the fact that we did try to go for it on all four fronts has come back to bite us a little bit. And obviously, I don't think Eddie would ever say that. I don't think he's ever going to come out and say, you know what, I probably should have just played Sean Neve for the Carabao Cup games because we were defending champions in that. We wanted to get a domestic trophy, and it was like, where do you put your, to kind of phrase that you and Win use it a lot, where do you put your eggs? Which basket do you put them in? Do you go all out for the Champions League? Well, we saw Tottenham do that last year. It didn't really work out for them in their European competition when they put all of their eggs into that. Do you go all out for a cup? And I think we kind of got locked into a position where we didn't make a decision, and we've just tried to compete on all four fronts. We've had injuries. We didn't have the best of summers. So, although it's been a disappointing season, and don't get me wrong, I get it. Especially from yourself, me and you have this back and forth all the time with whether this has been a failure of a season. And I'm sure you're going to come back in and disagree with absolutely everything that I'm saying here. But if we hadn't had the spectacular seasons, this wouldn't probably look as bad. And I get it. Where we are right now isn't where you would like us to be. You would love us to be challenging for Europe, but with the the season that we had injury wise, and I think we when we get onto the Chelsea game, there's a point that I think I'm going to make in place of Win, who I think would have been the one to make the point about some of the changes in the side, shall we say, that we were able to see yesterday that we weren't able to see for big chunks of this season. Um, but to me, it's not a failure, and I don't look at this season as a failure. I don't think we've performed terribly, but I'm sure you're going to come in and tell our viewers a different perspective on this, are you, Boaky?
Well, I think domestically we have failed. I think there's no arguing with that. You look at where we are in the league, even after the Chelsea result, we're out of all domestic competitions. So I think domestically it's not been great. Champions League getting through to the last 16. Did I expect that? Probably the way the competition was set up. Do I now expect to get further? I think it's going to be really, really difficult. But I think that's the one thing that can save a season is progressing in the Champions League and, taking this club to that next level that we've never been this far before, but we've never been into sort of the latter stages of the European competition in recently, well, in my lifetime. So I
I
think
mean,
that's
ever,
the big
probably,
difference. Yeah, well, we won the first cup, to be fair, but I mean, the
to be
Champions
fair.
League, wise, yeah, Champions League wise,
Pun not
we've never been
intended for
this.
those listening
Yeah,
on DAB.
to be in regards to that, we do need to start to push on in Europe, and if we can, it would be brilliant. If we can't, and it's because we lose to a better team, that's fine, as long as we go over there and give them a game. I think that's the big thing for me now is that for the rest of the season, every game we play needs to be a cup final, and we need to give every team a game. Sorry, a strong performance.
Yeah.
Just a reminder to the chat, we are looking for some grounds in England this evening from going through the alphabet. So we're still on A. So if you can think of a ground in the country that begins with A that Newcastle United have played at.
Just before we move on from that, though, and I want to ask chat this as well as yourself, because you have mentioned a few times out of all domestic cups. I mean, obviously there was one season in our lifetimes where we did well in one cup in our lifetimes. Where were you expecting us to do in the Carabao Cup and FA Cup this season? Were you expecting us to get further than we did in both of those competitions? And I'll put that out in the chat as well. Please feel free to tell me how far you thought that we were going to get in those tournaments, because a lot of people have looked at that as another like feather in the cap of those who are saying that this has been like a failure of a season. But I'm just wondering, like, because even in recent memory, we haven't generally been at this side that has challenged for silverware.
but we're a side that's changed. That's the big problem. We're now a progressive side. We're now a side that is looking forward to football. Fans are going to the game, loving going to games now. In the past, I think the problem is there's a lot of thought about the past and where we were, say, under Mike Ashley and things like that. And I understand that. I feel like myself a little bit. But what you've got to realize is we are now spending the money. We are now getting the better players in. We are now pushing up the league. We are now pushing it with be able to compete a little bit with the big boys in regards to player signings and things like that. We were never in this position before, but when you're doing that, you also have to then start to compete massively in every competition because you obviously need the money from it and you need the prestige. Winning a cup competition last year probably got us more fans across the world and made Newcastle United a bigger name across the world. And you need to keep doing that. That's why Man City are a big club now, because they carried on winning trophies after they did it. And they got the prestige across the world as being a huge club. Was it easier for them? Yes, of course it was. They put fair play rules in place and things that have absolutely knocked us up. But you've got to see that we we have spent a lot of money, and we should be able to compete now in these competitions. And if we were having a great league season and had fell out of the cups, then fine. Or if we went way on in a cup competition and we're suffering the league because of that, then fine. But we've actually suffered across the board this season in regards to um, domestic football. We haven't done great in the league, and we haven't done great in the cups. So it's been a double whammy for us. It just feels a little bit disappointing as a domestic season.
Okay. We've got David in chat has won the race to get our first lettered ground, shall we say. You are getting slightly ahead of us though. I do see you've also said the couple of grounds that are a little bit further on in the alphabet, but we do have Anfield for the first one to name a English ground. Newcastle United have played at beginning with an A. So shall we see who's the first one who can give us the letter B?
Of course we can. So any Premier League ground that any ground that we've played at in England beginning with the letter B. So moving on, obviously we had the Barcelona game. Brilliant atmosphere, fantastic
You were there,
game.
weren't you? You were
I was
there
there. It was
live in person.
I was amazing. I met Win before the match and went for a pint with his son,
Really lovely.
who also disagrees with everything that I say, basically. But lovely lad, really nice build up to the match, and then we went in to watch the game. Fantastic atmosphere, fantastic setup. Loved the fireworks going off over the stand. I thought at first Win had lit up a tab, but no, it was the fireworks going off. Absolutely amazing European night again on Tyneside. The type of nights that we've all dreamt for years. And we were robbed of under Ashley, but now a big starting to become a regular thing again on Tyneside. What did you make of the game, Tina?
I mean, I got called out for overusing the word proud last time I've spoke. I have finally calmed down. But yeah, we went into that game. We looked at their lineup. We knew that was going to be a strong attacking force. Obviously, their reporters came over and they're like, "Well, what are you going to do about Lamine Yamal?" I can't do that in a funny accent. Sorry. What are you going to do about him? How are you going to do it? Apparently, what you do is you stick him in Lewis Holt's back pocket for 95 minutes, and just make sure you take the car keys back off him before he leaves the ground, because that was a fun start to finishing that game. That was a fantastic performance. I think we had it we had it against Manchester United last week. We had it for the first 18 and a half minutes against Manchester City on Saturday, and then we went into this game against Barcelona, and I mean, we were fantastic from start to finish. It was very unfortunate how it ended with the penalty. I don't think any of us can disagree that it was a penalty. But I mean, we played so good, and to be fair, had luck been on our side, had Asula had just worn somebody else's shoes who had slightly bigger feet, might have been going into that like last 5 minutes 2 goals up. There's a little bit of controversy about the fact that we kept pushing for it at that last minute, and I can see that. But I was kind of looking at that, and I was happy to see Eddie and Trippier saying, "Go on, get forward. Let's take 2 goals into the new camp," because we know when we go to their ground, it's going to be difficult. We know stopping them from scoring is going to be hard. They're going to be in front of their ground. It's going to be a little bit intimidating. So if we could have got in there with 2 goal cushion, that would have been, that would have given us a lot of confidence. As it stands now, we're going in 1-1. But I cannot fault a single thing that any of our team did or the fans that night. I think we were great all over, and obviously you were in the ground, so you can give me the perspective from there.
It was a magical night, and I mean, right throughout the game, and right throughout till the last moment, it was everything was rosy in the garden. Everything was going brilliant. The fans, I've got to say it, the fans were absolutely magnificent. I've never been to St James's Park on many a times, but I don't think I've ever had like such a buzz. I wasn't at the original Barcelona game, but I don't think I've ever had such a buzz as that in the ground. It felt you were tingling. It was sort of a tingly feeling that you had. It was like being a kid again, like being a kid going to a sweet shop. I guess sort of. Pretty hell, 5 years ago we were scratching around, thinking that potentially we could be going down to the Championship. Now we're playing in the Champions League against a massive team, Barcelona. And us Newcastle United are now back up there with the big boys. So I think that's the feeling I had was just magical night. Obviously, Bond scored the goal, fantastic goal, great finish, and then obviously the penalty, which was just like a kick in the teeth, really. And
It was.
if in that game, you sort of you understand that they are a good team. It was a penalty. It was rightly given. I don't think there's much argument with that. But in regards to it, it did feel it's happened again sort of thing, because it's happened all season where we've scored goals and we've conceded pretty quickly afterwards, and we've conceded goals late in games that have cost us. So there was a little bit of a feeling of, this is Barcelona. We drew 1-1 with them. Great, that this is a magical evening no matter what. But it's also that little bit of, we could have seen this coming, because as soon as we do go ahead, we do tend to concede. So a double-edged sword, but a fantastic evening. This is what
Yeah.
football's all about, isn't it? Going to games like Barcelona and being that team, competing. I think that's the difference right there. We competed with them.
Yeah, and we did. We would definitely, if we had won that game, nobody would have ever been able to say, "Oh, Newcastle got lucky in that game," because we played like a team that deserved to win. I think we probably would have been a little bit happier with a 1-1 draw against Barcelona if it hadn't have came in the last kick, because it felt like we were celebrating a victory, and then it was such a heartbreaking moment for that to happen, and then you leave the game with that being the last kick of the game, and it kind of took the shine off it. I think if you had offered us 1-1 before the game started, we would have taken it. But I think it's a testament again to how well we played that we came out of that game probably a little bit disappointed that we only managed to get 1-1. But yeah, Barcelona, we are coming for yous. Get yourselves ready, because the Geordies are landing. And we do have a couple of answers. Sorry, go on.
No, I was just going to say, do we want to move on to B, because I'm conscious that we're going to run out of time.
As we always do on a Sunday, it always just slips away from us. But yeah, we've got a few shouts for B's, to be fair. We've got Bowling Ground mentioned there by David Spence. Oh, I can't get my thing to go back up, so I'm going to use this one. We've got Brookfield Road, Barnsley Lane, and Boundary Park. We've got Baseball Ground was the first one that was mentioned. That was from Niall Powell. He would have technically... I honestly don't remember. I don't actually remember that ground existing. But clearly Niall didn't. It was Niall who did get in there first. And we'll move on to C now. So if you've got one starting with C, please put it in the chat and see if you can be the first one to give us a little answer there.
I had Bloomfield Park and Blackpool.
Bloomfield Park. Is that Blackpool's ground, is that?
Yeah.
See, I'm terrible for ground names. I know like the newer ones, like, because they make it pretty easy now, like Emirates Stadium, Tottenham Hotspur Stadium.
Well, look, you're making it easier for later on in the game, at least. So, so
I do that every time. You need to stop me from talking, Boaky. Every single game we do. To be fair, you've been trying to get me to stop talking for about 6 months now, haven't you?
I'm just one man the night. I can't stop the tornado Tina by myself.
Tornado Tina, I love it.
Moving on to Wednesday, we had the news that Arsenal won Toon Army. I think this comes off the back of Man City wanting them as well, and Man United. What's your thoughts on that? What are your thoughts about that? You think there's going to be this talk all the time now about our best players?
Yeah, I mean, especially Sandro Tonali, because I mean he's a cut above. I know that this is going to get me some heat, and I'm sure this is going to be one of those things that Chris is going to clip and put on YouTube for everybody to mock me for. But we have that discussion quite often about who's better, Bruno or Tonali. I'm going to say something very controversial here, because I know we all love Bruno, and Bruno is one of my favourite players at the team, and I probably rank him up there as one of my favourite players in Newcastle ever. But I think as far as an actual footballer goes, I think Tonali's the best player we've got. Possibly one of the best midfielders we've ever had. And I know there was games at the start of the season where we didn't show that maybe in some people's eyes, but Tonali is I mean, he's cut from a very specific cloth, where if you saw like, you look at our international players. If you looked at any of those international players, if Gordon didn't get selected for England in the starting lineup in this World Cup, you'd be like, okay, fair enough, I can understand that. If Bruno doesn't make it into the Brazilian midfield, or if Joe Lennon doesn't make it into the Brazilian midfield, you think, okay, yeah, no, I can see that. But you'd be shocked if Italy line up without Sandro Tonali in that midfield, and that's the difference. I mean, he is and I know that I use the word because I'm an excitable person, as you've noticed. I'll say everybody's world class, but Tonali is legitimately world class level of footballer. So I think we can only expect teams to be rumored to be coming in for him. But I mean, I would hope that he's got a bit of an affiliation with us. If we are going to sell him, I hope he goes outside of the Premier League. I would hate to have him play for any team, especially Arsenal or Liverpool, any of those teams. Manchester City, I mean, they've got enough midfielders that they don't need Tonali. Like we've given Tonali, we stuck by Tonali when he was banned for a year. We stuck by Tonali when he had a little bit of a dip in form. And our fans love Sandro Tonali, and I don't think he's going to get the admiration that he could have as our centre midfield general. I don't think he's going to get there anywhere else, and I hope he knuckles down and stays part of this project long term.
I think again, what we need to learn with these players now is when they do come in and they are big players. I mean, Tonali was already a big player before he got to.
Mm-hmm.
Is put release clauses in the contract, so when they get here and they sign new contracts, pop those in, because it just makes life so much easier for Newcastle United, because you can then turn around to the player and say, look, if we get offered the money for you, you stay. You go. We wish you all the best. If we don't get offered the money, you stay. And you maybe just put clauses in that it can be £100 million you can leave for, but not to another Premier League club. If it's that, it has to be 20% extra or something like that. So I think it's about Newcastle United learning from the Isak situation. That was an absolute disaster, no matter how you look at it. We tried to play big boys. Notice what I did there? But we
No, I appreciated the self censorship. I was impressed.
we try to do that, and act like we were, able to keep a player who didn't want to be here. We could go out, we could talk them round, we could force them to stay. End of the day, if a player wants to go, they can go. But if you've got that release clause in, it takes the decision out of the club's hands. You sort of go, you want to go, you think you're that good that you can go, you think that teams want you. You've got the release clause. Go out and do it. Go out and find yourself a new club. Or get your agent go out and find you a new club. I think what people forget with likes of Tonali is it's not just him; it's his agent, and his agent won't give a stuff about Newcastle United. They won't care. That he had that season out. All they'll be thinking of is how much money can I make, and how much money can I make for my client, and that's part of life. That's part of everything, basically. But no matter what you do in life, you always go where the money is, and it makes it difficult because although I say we are one of the big teams, which we are, we can't offer the wages because we just don't have the money coming in yet.
Mm.
That's the side of it that we need to change. So if we had the money coming in and we can offer these boys, big amounts of money, then potentially we do become become one of the teams that can sort of keep hold of players, and maybe it's even 10 players from other clubs, because that's the big thing that we haven't really done yet, is manage to snatch a big player from another club. And that there's no chance we're doing that at the minute, because they'll be on bigger wages at the other club and we just can't compete.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, I do think that we will eventually become a club who can not only hold on to our best players but also prize players away from other teams. I think once we are at that level of competing, I think we are a very attractive team. If nothing else, just because of the noise and the sheer worship that our fans give the team. So it is literally just getting that balance for the income so that we can, or the however it's worked with like club, what is it, club cost ratio or something now?
Oh, I've got no idea. Win will talk you through that. Win and
Well,
Gary will
yes.
do a show on that. We'll just sit in the background and listen.
Normal service resumed. We do have a few answers for C. We've got Davey, I think was the first one who came in there with Carroll Road, and I think you said Cardiff City Stadium as well. You did indeed. Yep. We've also got David Spence, who came in there with Craven Cottage, also mentioned Cardiff City Stadium. I did know Craven Cottage. We've also got County Ground being mentioned by David as well. But Davy Boy was the first one to answer one beginning with C, so we can move on to D. Did you have any for C there, Boaky?
I had Carrow Road who is Norwich City.
Norwich. That's
Yep,
fair.
lovely.
And
So
who plays at Cardiff City Stadium? I'm joking. It's in the
Wales.
name. The Cardiff don't play there.
No, Cardiff don't play at Cardiff City Stadium.
Did they actually
Um,
not?
no, they do. Of course they do.
Oh man, Boaky!
Moving on. We
Moving
also
swiftly on.
we had the discussions about Hall, and is he the best in the world? Not only the Premier League, but the best left back in the world. Go on,
I've been waiting to
leave that
speak
one
on
to you.
this.
What's your thoughts?
I've been waiting to speak on this since I heard Chris's reaction to this. So, American Mag, if you're watching, you know I love you, but I do need to take a little bit of it between my teeth in to reply to what you said. So, for those of you who did not see the show where Chris was asked about this, I believe was it Wednesday that this talk was happening,
Yeah.
or was this? Yeah. So he made 2 points. One of which was, if your best player's a left back, you're knackered. So I tried to put a few names in chat who would disagree with that, which would be the likes of Roberto Carlos, Jon Anarise, at the early part of his career, Paolo Maldini. You've also got another one whose name escapes me at the moment. Hold on, who was it? Philip Lahm. Although I think he was a right back by the end of his career. But you look at Real Madrid. If you tell me that Real Madrid team, one of their best players was not Roberto Carlos, I will laugh in your face. So first of all, your left back can be one of your best players, and then he started naming left backs that he thought was better than Lewis Hall. And I kid you not, chat, the word that came out of his mouth was Cucurella. Now, if we had the gidding on our soundboard, we'd be playing it right now, because that is not only wrong, but on a level deeply insulting, not only to Lewis Hall, but to anybody who's ever watched football in their entire lives. Cucurella is not, by any stretch of the imagination, a better left back than Lewis Hall. And don't get me wrong, Cucurella's good, especially for Spain. In that Spanish tournament, he was in a world of his own, and he was one of their best players. But Lewis Hall brings a lot more. Like, I had never seen Cucurella back pocket one of the world's most exciting talents for 95 minutes, and then not only do that, but also just randomly start attacks as well. Like, the amount that we get from Lewis Hall, whether that's the fact that he can dribble and take a player on, whether that's the fact that he can get forward and he can provide some service, and the fact that he's really good and not only good defensively, but he busts a gut defensively. Some of the tackling that he's done last ditch, some of the chasing back to stop a cross or a shot from going in. I haven't seen Cucurella do that this season. I've seen Lewis Hall do that at least 5 times this season. So I don't know if you can extrapolate from that who I think one of the best left backs in the Premier League is, but I would definitely say Lewis Hall should be in that conversation. How do you feel about that?
I agree completely with Chris. I think
Oh,
he's a class.
wow!
No, I am.
Wow!
No, I do actually disagree with Chris on this one. I think Hall is just a brilliant player. Does he sometimes get things wrong a little bit defensively at times? Yeah. Does he
He's a young
sometimes
lad
hold on?
still, though.
Yeah. Does he sometimes hold on to the ball a little bit too much at times? Yeah. But look at him as a player. He's an amazing player. He's as I said the other night, I don't think he'll stay as a left back. I think he'll move up the pitch. He's just that good a player that he's going to naturally develop up there. And I think it'll be forced on a manager at some point to think he's too good to sit at left back. He's got that little bit of bite about him. He's got the pace about him. He's got the football and brain. He's just an all-round good footballer. And when we talk about players that we think are potentially going to be world class at the club, I think it's him. I think it is him. And when teams are coming in saying they want to put in to buy Tino, to be fair, if Tino's acting as a smokescreen and nobody's seeing Hall, great for us. As long
Yeah.
may that continue. Because to be honest, if I'm sitting here being completely honest, I'd miles rather lose Tino than lose Hall. Hall, in my view, is the miles better player. Just remember, we're looking for teams as well that Newcastle have played. Grounds that Newcastle have played in England, beginning with D. I'm just going to do some of the chats if that's okay with you, Tina.
Yeah, absolutely.
Should we do one each? So I'll do the first one.
Yeah, go ahead.
Boaky needs to lower his expectations. No way can we compete with the big six. We don't even earn half the money these clubs do and can't pay the wages. Fair enough, mate. That one's from Jordan there. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next one.
The next one's from Niall Powell, and he's actually replying directly to Jodeci and says, "We can compete. We are fifth biggest spender in the league."
Yeah,
So,
good point. And the last one there from Goldfinger is, we will continue to sell until PIF pull their fingers out and get the stadium and training ground revenue. 5 years and there's still no use. Far too long. We've discussed that one before, mate, and all I can say is I completely agree. And what will probably happen is we'll lose a game, and all of a sudden there'll be a massive thing put out in the press that, the new stadium's coming or the training ground's coming. We need to, at this point, be seeing actual proof that it's going to happen. Keep saying that. It keeps coming out that this is what we're going to do. That's what we're going to do. Talk's cheap. We actually need to see things start to progress. I don't know what you think, Tina.
I mean, I get what you're saying with the timing of when these announcements usually come out. I think the fact that one of them came out after the Manchester United win gives us a little bit of hope that it is actually legit, that we are going to start building the training ground. I think overall my view on this, and it's not going to be a popular view, it's just we just need to be a little bit more patient. It's been like 5 years since PIF bought the team. In that time, we've had, a lot of staff and owners come and go. We had, Amanda and I can't remember his name, but yeah, Amanda.
Behind with G, go, yeah.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
carry
yeah.
on.
But him and Amanda left the club. We had DOFs leave. We've had scouting players leave. We've had about 6 different under 21 managers. Like, there's been a lot of stuff going on, and in that time, PIF have had to come in. They've had to figure out what the location was going to be. They've had to come up with what the plan could be, and then they've had to then go into what the situation with the council or the landowners is around that. So whereas 5 years sounds like a long time, really when you're coming into a place like almost blind, it's not that long a time. I think we just need to be patient and just let it happen. The teams, there we go, we've got it in there. It's Murdad Goddessy. That's the one. Thank you very much, Monkey, for that. Give me that name in chat. I knew there was an M and a G, but I couldn't remember how any of those names were pronounced, unfortunately. And if he's listening, I do apologise. Still a massive fan. Please like, comment, and subscribe.
Brian did try his best at it, to be fair. But my dad.
Oh my! I mean, it's a fair attempt. We've had a couple of shouts for D as well. Just before you give us your look into that, we had, I think the first one was again Davy Boy, who got Deepdale. We've then, I've knocked up my phone. We then had David Spence come in with Deepdale as well. So I think Deepdale's the only one that people can think of. I don't know if you've got another one.
No, I had Deepdale, which is Preston North End. So well done,
I would have never got that. I would have never in a million. If Newcastle played against Preston North End.
Yeah, because this is all time. So yes, definitely.
Right. Okay. Did you have any other thoughts about the training ground situation? I know you often think that it comes out after a loss to try to quell the emotions a bit, but I mean, you've got to see that it is going to go somewhere. I mean, if PIF weren't serious about it, they probably wouldn't have bought us players like Sandro Tonali in the first place, would they?
Yeah, but I'll come on to that. But we'll just go on to E as well. So any football ground Newcastle have played in England begin with E. But in regards to that, I'm sure there is plans, and I'm sure there's reasons why things are being delayed. But it does feel a little bit like, you guys have been in charge for 5 years now. It's not as if we're struggle for land around this area. It's not as if sort of, there's not bits of land that you could just take and do things on. It does just feel like dragging on and on a little bit now. I think until I see a spade go into the ground, it's always going to be a little bit in the back of your head. Well, hang on, what are you guys actually doing? Why aren't we progressing? Do they want us to? Do they want to be the people that spend the money to get Newcastle to the next level, or are they potentially thinking at the minute, hang on, we bought this club to make money on. We could get a hell of a lot more selling it now than we paid for it. So is there a little bit of that in the background, slightly that they've made the profit on the club already? Do they need to be spending £1 billion on a stadium stay or 200-300 million pound on a training ground?
I mean, I think if you were looking into, because first of all, I do think that they do have a long term project of turning this into something that they can own and see success with, which I think will, if you looked at it longer term, even if they were looking to eventually just make a profit on a sale, surely once you've put more infrastructure in place and the team has then went on and won trophies, won leagues, maybe even won a Champions League, the value of the club then is going to be, you know, unviewable from where it is at the moment. So I would hope that they are, locked in for the project. I felt a lot more confident of that when we had Amanda, because she'd been trying to get somebody to help her buy the club for absolute years. And once she left, I think we lost a little bit of the spark, and I lost a little bit of my confidence that this project was something that was like long term. But it's not going to do any of us any good if we start thinking that PIF are just trying to sell us straight away. Did you highlight a comment there?
No, I just pop one up if you want to read it out there.
Oh, yeah, we've got evening, guys. Great result yesterday with sort of a makeshift team. Unfortunately, don't believe we have the tools to beat Barcelona away, but our season may get back on track. So that's kind of a foot in the happy clap as the foot in the bed one as.
It was. I just thought it was quite a balanced view, which we don't
It
often
was
get on
very
this channel.
balanced.
So I thought
No,
I'd
we
pop
do
it up.
not.
So moving on, do we want to do E? Because I don't think there's many grounds beginning with E.
Yeah, we've got Ellen Road and Ewood Park. Now I know Ellen Road was the old Leeds Stadium, wasn't it?
It is. It still is
Ewood
the Leeds
Park, I've
Stadium.
heard, was Ewood Park Blackburn Rovers?
Believe it might have been. Yes, I think you've got me there. I don't know 100%, but I think it
Shout
might.
from Christina if that was pulled out. But that was again Davy Boy, who was the first one each one of these letters of the alphabet.
You must have travelled around the country quite a bit. So what let we're on now, Tina?
Oh, I knew you were going to try to throw us under the bus, but I was ready for it. We're on F. I was ready because this is where I fell over it last week. So I've got it written down this week.
Excellent. So obviously, Thursday brought the news that Middle East trips being cancelled for obvious reasons. I don't think we want to particularly get into the political side of it. We definitely don't want to. But do you think now it's a case of that we'll go Europe this summer and just have maybe it's a bit of a less travel for the players?
Yeah, and I mean, it's probably going to be a good thing as well, because it just means that, they're not spending as much time traveling. It's in a more familiar location with a more familiar climate as well. So, if we went to like, France, Germany, Italy, Portugal, there's loads of places across Europe that we could go to, and they can have a good time in these European places. We could play against some good teams who are maybe a little bit more at the standard that we would need them to be, and it's not just dehydrating yourself in a much hotter climate to then just come back and play in England week after week. So hopefully we pull something out. But yeah, definitely understandable why they cancelled that trip.
I bet you that was a hell of a first game, Davy. Davy's just put in there his first game was 1996 away at Fratton Park. What memories you must have from that, mate? Brilliant. Yeah, I agree. Obviously with it, sorry, just give us a second. They have lost what I. Yeah, I agree with it gives the players maybe a little bit of a chance to have a bit more family time as well, because when you're traveling right across the world, it takes away that. So hopefully they have a bit of a more of a relaxed summer. And I just hope Eddie Howe takes some time out this summer. Maybe stop and reflect if he is going to be manager next season, which by all sources, it looks like he very well might be. He maybe just needs that little bit of time to maybe rethink and reset a little bit. Maybe he's especially around his squad, and his coaches. Maybe he's a complete rethink. But take a little bit of time out for himself as well. I think a lot of time we'll forget he was very poorly at the end of last season.
Mhm.
So, maybe he's just give himself a little bit of a summer off this summer.
Yeah, I agree with
There's
that.
there's not going to be much you can do with the World Cup being on. So, take that little bit of time out. Plus, he's got the team behind him now with the club. We've got the director of football. We've got the recruiting staff. So, he doesn't have to be there day in, day out. So, take time out, refresh, and hopefully he comes back a better manager, a elite manager, if you like. I've got my doubts, but we can go with it. So the other things that were discussed on Thursday, Tina, were, do we need a new striker this summer? So we spent a lot of money on strikers last summer, but do you think with what we've bought, we need another one this summer?
I mean, I saw the rumours. Liam Delap's been mentioned again as a player that we might look into going for. I don't think the João Pedro rumours are ever going to go away until after that transfer window as well. Whether we need a new striker or not that's a debatable one, because Nick Waldemara, I'm still convinced he's going to be fantastic next season. I'm starting to lose a little bit of confidence on Johan Wissa. But again, I mean, he's never had a pre-season, but by the time we get to next year, he's going to be like 30 years old. So maybe, somebody who's a bit more prolific, a bit better with movement, somebody who's like a bit more Willis Soulery, but also
Not Willis Sula.
predatory. Yeah, like, because Willisula, and I love Willisula, but if you watch him when he plays up front, he runs into the channels. He's got a lot more movement than we've seen from Nick and Wissa, but he doesn't have that. He's not going to Shiva one into the top corner ever, is he? And that's with all due respect to the goal that he did score last week for us. But I do think potentially, if we could get like a Delap or a João Pedro, I mean, Wisa can stay if he's going to be good. We could play with 3 strikers, especially if we do make it into Europe. But I think we probably do need somebody who we can have a bit of faith in being able to bulge the back of the net on a few more occasions. That not being said, though, I do hope that we hold on to Nick Walter-Mara and that we actually start playing him up front again. I know that that's a bit of a foreign concept these days, but I would certainly like to see us give that a bit of a try.
I know. So moving on, we went on to F. Did we have had any Fs in the chat? Do you know, or
There's always F's in chat. We do have Fratton Park, which you mentioned as being an interesting one. Who played at Fratton Park?
Portsmouth play at Fratton Park, and it was my first ever away game.
Really? Oh wow!
Yeah.
Are you Davy boy? Is this just you just sitting in chat just cheating? We've also
It was my first ever away game as well. I actually got the ticket for free because I drove the minibus down with the lads in. I lived in Wallsend at the time. Drove around Wallsend about 2:00 in the morning, picking them all up. They were absolutely mortal off the night before still. They were sleeping, drinking, doing whatever you like on a bus all the way down. And then we got down there and we lost the game. I think it was Glenn Roder in charge, if I'm not wrong. Harper was definitely in goal because he got some abuse from the fans. And then we travelled back up on the minibus with them even more drunk and me getting more annoyed because I was thinking to myself, why did I put myself through this for a 45 quid ticket from being the back of us?
Decisions. We've also got Farmer Stadium, and the person who was fastest was Niall Powell, this time with Filbert Street.
Yep, all correct. So we'll move on to, what's the next letter, Dina?
I've already counted them on my fingers. It's G.
Yep, so any stadium Newcastle United have played in England, beginning with a G. So just getting back to, obviously, Thursday and what we're discussing then. So Europe, and Wynne tried to make the point that because other English teams in Europe are failing, it could have an effect on Newcastle. Which the stats show is correct in regards to the teams might not drop down the league that much, but should we be relying on other teams in England in Europe, sorry, from England to get Newcastle United European football, or should we be setting our own goals?
I mean, ideally, in an ideal world, we set our own goals. I did, and that was one of those conversations that I kind of got stuck in the middle of. That I thought both people were missing the other person's point of. I think what Win was saying was factually, this is the situation where because this is happening, we now have less chance of qualifying for Europe. If this happened, we'd have more chance. Whereas you were very much of the view of, well, why should we be depending on other teams? So both of you were kind of correct with what you were saying, and I think that was going to be one of those conversations that you and Win were going to have that was just going to go on forever and ever, with neither one of you ever getting to meet in the middle. Long term, it would be fantastic if we could not have to depend on other teams. But as it stands right now in this season, with the league form that we had earlier in the year, we've only got 8 games left to play.
Yeah.
So we kind of, any favour that we can get from other teams is going to work out well. And it happened for us last season, where we kind of depended on other teams' results to get us to where we needed to be eventually. And that's football. Sometimes you kind of need things to go in your favour. And we've had a lot of bad luck when it comes to, decisions on the park this season, or cup competition opponents, where we just keep running into Manchester City. So, I wouldn't be adverse to us getting another bit of luck again and then moving on, with the project building, hopefully having a good summer, and then, being in a position maybe next season where we can make our own luck, so to speak. But as it stands right now, I wouldn't be adverse to like Spursy doing us a bit of a solid and making a miraculous comeback, or, Chelsea as well. There's a lot of English teams that have kind of came off the boil in the first leg of the Champions League last week. So I could do with them doing me a favour. But as it is, that there is still one thing that people are overlooking, in regards to it still being in our hand, and that is if we beat Barcelona and move on in this competition, one way to guarantee our own success would be to go on and win this competition.
Ooh. We'll
Oh, there's
discuss
that
that
famous
later.
Boaky. Ooh.
We'll discuss that later in the show when we go on to next week. In which case, so going to obviously G. Have we had any G's in the chat?
We have G Tech,
Yeah,
which seems to be the one that most people are going with. We've got Goodison Park, we've got Gateshead Stadium, which is fair enough. That's
it's not
obviously
actually.
what.
I don't think we've ever played. I don't think we've ever played a professional game at Gateshead Stadium.
Have we not done a friendly there?
Well,
Or
I've done
anything?
friendlies, but I was kind of doing it that it had to be a professional game, so a proper
Professional,
game.
okay. Okay, and
But I don't
we're
think we've
obviously
ever
not
played.
including the
But
women's team then. But we've also got
okay,
Golston.
well, fair enough. If we're including the women's team, yep.
Women's team play there like week in, week out. We've also got Golston Ground, Griffin Park. I think the first one who came in, we have had a shout to say that it's 1-1 in the Spursy Liverpool game, by the way. But I
Ooh,
think the first one was Monkey with Goodison Park, who got straight in there. I think everybody knows Goodison. Even I know where Goodison, who plays in Goodison Park.
who plays there now?
Is it not still Everton?
Nope, they got the new stadium this year, didn't they?
Oh, in that case, I don't know.
No, there's nobody plays at Goodison Park now. It was a
Why?
right answer.
Why would you do that to us? Why do you just come on the show just to embarrass me with your account on national radio?
I,
Like,
I, I just have to keep it right for the viewers, to make sure what we're speaking is factually correct. And
okay,
like
okay,
Stato, my mum was giggling, and that was it's
giggling.
Berry Berry or giggling, sorry, Berry or Bury that play there, however you want to pronounce it. So should we move on to H? Any club, any team
I'm so glad
ground
you
that will
did that
play
one.
in
I
beginning
hadn't
with H?
hadn't figured that one out on my fingers yet.
Yeah,
So yes,
I thought you'd run.
H.
I seen that you'd run out of fingers, so I thought I would help you out.
Thank you.
No problem. So, where we do that, Friday obviously brought the press conference. Again, I didn't see anything particularly that was worth discussing. Again, no questions about Wissa. No, why is he not playing? Why is he not?
Well, there is a little bit of news that did come out about Wissam. I don't think it was mentioned in the press conferences, but it did come out that he was going to be doing a like he's going to be involved for Congo. in a
Yeah, so
tournament
he's
coming
been
up.
called up for the international.
Yeah, so I mean that could work in our benefit if he has a bit of a banging tournament there, or at least a few banging games there. Maybe he catches a little bit of a spark again. There is a shout from Ryan from Seattle who say that Everton women may still be playing at Goodison Park,
Ah,
which
right. I don't know.
is what I meant by Everton, but never mind.
No, in which case, if I'm wrong, Tina, I apologise, but Everton don't
Somebody
play
clip
there
that.
anymore.
Put that on the sideboard. Boaky
Yeah,
said sorry to Christina. Get that on the soundboard, Chris.
it only happens once a year, and normally around
It does.
Christmas.
It's usually around Christmas.
Obviously, the focus as well was on Chelsea on Friday. Would come out the Barcelona game. We knew there was a bug going around the team. I don't think we need to discuss that. I think actually we can discuss what Anthony Gordon said about the bug that was going around after the game against Ch- uh, Chelsea. So I think we'll pick up on that now. Did you hear what he said about it?
I actually didn't. If
Oh,
you
well,
want to
he
just
came
give
out
us a
and
little recap.
he came out and because obviously the questions were you wouldn't shake Les Ferdinand's hand because obviously you said that you had something wrong with you, but you went into the dressing room. And Gordon was quite vocal and quite put the point across very strongly. He didn't go into the dressing room. He went off into a different room and was getting himself ready in case he could play the game, but he wasn't with the other players, so they had segregated him off. So if he did have a bug, they were segregating him so he didn't pass it on to other players. And do you think this is one maybe that people have come up with adding two together and came up with five? Because it proves that Newcastle were doing the right thing. They weren't sending ill players into a dressing room.
Yeah, I think it's one of those in the world of football, journalists and certain pockets of fans are always going to look for a gotcha moment, especially against Newcastle United players and managers. So I think it was you know, it was a bit of a cheeky one from the journalists who thought that. At the same time, I think Tonali still ended up catching the bug. He
Yeah.
didn't, Gordon did end up sitting on the bench next to all of our all of our substitutes. So, I mean, it's fair play that they did try to segregate him. But look, I mean, it's kind of like working in an office. Like once one person gets the bug, the rest of the team's always going to be at risk. And hopefully, we just see the back end of that so that we can move on with a fully healthy team for the rest of the season.
Yeah, definitely. That's all you want. You want a healthy team, don't you? You want players that are firing on all cylinders. And
Not
but
throwing
but
up
as
after they come out for the second
you know,
half, as our,
but
our
as
poor Ramsey had.
But as I say, I think sometimes it proves that when you're sitting watching from the outside, you're not seeing what's happening inside. So there is brain work going on inside that's different to what people are seeing. Because all we see is Anthony Gordon walking into the changing rooms is what we think. Whereas the club had the protocol that he didn't go in with the rest of the players or the rest of the coaching staff, and he was segregated off. So, they did have the right procedures in place, but to give people like me, people like the panel, we all jumped on it saying, why is he going in if he's not well and potentially infecting other players? But he
Mhm.
didn't. He didn't approach anybody else. He kept himself. I'm sure we'll remember social distancing. He kept himself away from everybody. So the club actually did the right thing, but from the outside, it was very very easy to paint out the picture that they'd done the wrong thing. So I just thought that was worth picking up on because we jump on the club's back and then Eddie Howe's back at times for decisions made, but that decision actually was correct. And basically, what the reason he had him there was because Anthony Gordon was saying, "Look, I'm not well, but there is a chance I can come on."
Mhm.
So he was
And I
just
mean,
giving
he did
himself
end up coming on
options.
as well for the last few
Hmm.
minutes, so
Yeah, yeah,
it was worth him being there. But it's definitely good that we had the correct protocol in place there. You did have somebody ask you your opinion on whether we were expecting too much too quick from a couple of the players that we did bring in. Obviously Ramsdale and Ramsey are the two that were mentioned. I think to be fair, that's a fair talking point where
yeah,
because I think a lot of people were kind of writing, especially Ramsey, was kind of getting written off as a bad signing by a lot of the supporters, which I think since then he's kind of came into his own. He's became a player who I'm quite excited about. I really love watching him play now. And Ramsdale has arguably became, everyone's first name on the team sheet for who should be in goal for us. So I think, and that is one of the things, and I get it, and it's one of the things that I've said a lot previously in the season, is that maybe we do need to be a little bit more patient, whether that's just with our progress as a team or with players that we bring in. And I know it's hard, especially for with the likes of Waldemada, who we spent a lot of money on. But I've maintained from the very start of the season that his best season for us is going to be next year, after he's had a year to get accustomed to the Premier League. He's had a year to settle in the team in the area, and maybe put a bit of muscle on for next season, now that he knows what it's going to take to compete in this league.
100%. But in regards to Ramsey, I still don't understand why we signed him in regards to not signing somebody better who would go in the first team and be better than Joe Linton. I think they've both got different qualities. But I think if we'd spent maybe 20, 30 million more pounds on a midfielder, we could have got somebody who was a complete replacement for J7. And that was and still is the weak link in the midfield at this point. If you're playing that, if Eddie's insisting on playing the 4-3-3, it's always going to be that J7, Ramsey, if you like, are the players who don't quite do as much as the other two, or haven't quite got the skills of the other two. So we could have
the other two are
spent that
Bruno
money.
Guimaraes and Sandro Tonali, to be
But
fair, though.
exactly,
I mean,
but what I'm saying is spend 80, 90 million pound on a midfielder who's up to that level. The argument that was put across was we were buying bench players, and I never ever like that. If you've got a player on the pitch that you think you can do better than, then replace them. Don't replace players with bench players. Would be my argument. And as for Ramsdale, strange enough, I sat and me and my brother sat and watched the match together last night with me my nephew, and we all agreed that Ramsdale just. I don't know if it's just because of how big Nick Pope is, but he looks tiny in our goal. He doesn't look like a big imposing presence. He's not a huge goalkeeper. I know he's tall, but he's not like filling the goal. And I think his distribution's brilliant, but there's always that slight question over him, saving wise, stopping wise. So I suppose the point I made when as I say, my brother was sitting and talk about it, and I says to him, literally, if we can get him in for the 16 million, if that's right, then great, because it takes out a position that we have to cover. But he has to be paid a hell of a lot less wage than 120 grand a week if that report that he's on. There's no way we can afford to pay a goalkeeper that much. It's just it's an extortionate wage for a mid-table goalkeeper. I would say maybe he's a bench goalkeeper. And if we do that, do we get rid of Pope and buy in a world class keeper as well? Do we have that ability to do that this summer? There's so many questions about what we need to do this summer. That do we just take the goalkeeping position out of it completely, sign Ramsdale, and just say, look, for next season, Ramsdale and Pope are going to fight it out between themselves?
I mean, very much so. I mean, that was the one thing I was going to say about the wage demands is although I think it's a bit unfair to him to call him a mid-table goalkeeper, I do think if we were to sign Ramsdale, there is still a chance that we might need to go and buy another goalkeeper, and you would be looking, like you've said with the midfield there, of spend 80 or odd million on a player who would replace Joe Linton. I think if you're going to bring in a goalkeeper, because let's be honest, we've signed 57 goalkeepers in the past 2 years, and most of them have never actually played for us. So, I think we need to put that idea to one side. And if we are going to bring in a goalkeeper, it needs to be like a first team goalkeeper. And the wage demands that you're going to get for a world class goalkeeper these days are going to they're going to be quite inflated. So yeah, I would say that the wage demands of Ramsdale is one of the trickier parts, but
Sticking points.
yeah, sticker points. That's the word I was looking for. Thank you. You just keep me right with this English language. We'll get there eventually. But for £16 million for a goalkeeper who's done as well as he has over the last few games, I'd say that's a no-brainer. I'd take that all day long.
Yeah, as I say, there's plus and minuses, but I just think we've got such a big summer potentially. It's a no brainer not to do that one. Do we want to do H? Just I'm conscious we need to crack on with
Yeah,
this.
we'll do H, and then I've got a. Did I call Ramsdale Ramsgate? Is that at me? Sorry, Sean, if I
No,
did.
you're fine.
I didn't think I did. I'm blonde, but I'm not brainless. I've got, but one thing that Sean is pulling you up on there is that he's 24 years old, and if you look at where like Murphy, Joe Linton, etc. were at that time, there is definitely room for improvement. I think Ramsey's fine. I don't see any problems with Ramsey. I think he took a little bit of time to adapt in, but he's really coming into his own now. 4H, I know we had, where were they? We had Hillsborough. We had
Sheffield
High.
Wednesday.
Was that Sheffield Wednesday? We
Yeah.
had Highbury, and
Arsenal.
yep, and that was the. So I think that was the first one. That was from Brian Garr, who was the first. Oh my gosh, I've done it again. He was the first one to answer. Yeah, I don't know if there's. I can't really think of many that
I
start
had
with H.
I had Highbury as Hillsborough as well. So there's
Hillsborough.
no stadium beginning with I, and there's no stadium beginning with J. That
There
Newcastle
is
have played at in
stadiums that we've
England.
played in beginning with I. Oh, in England. Okay, I'm gonna let you off because we have played at Ibrox.
We have, but no. This is only England. So we'll move on to
Okay,
K. So any place ground that Newcastle have played at in England, beginning with K.
beginning with K. Ooh. And yeah, we'll start pushing that on as well because we've once again went through over an hour of this show and only got to the first third
I
of the
know.
alphabet.
It's a bit like we're scheduled. We may as well with that as well. But hey, it's Sunday night. Let's forget about it.
It's
We do what we
Sunday. It's
do. We do
always
what we do
chill.
on a Sunday. That's it.
We do what
So
we
we'll move
do.
on to Saturday in the Chelsea game. What are your thoughts 24 hours on from that one, Tina?
I mean, it was absolutely everything that we haven't had for the rest of the season. We took a goal, we didn't concede straight away. Um, do we dare question whether we were a little bit lucky that didn't bobble off Anthony Gordon's shin and go wide because he never had full control of that? But fantastic through ball, fantastic awareness from I think it was Willock. And a beautiful goal all in all, even though Gordon did kind of will a soul of it into the ball into the net. And then I mean we defended really well. There was there's not been a game this season that we've managed to win ugly the way that we did against Chelsea. We stayed focused, we kept to the task at hand. And if that had been Arsenal or Manchester or Chelsea themselves who had done that, pundits would have been going on about that's the mark of a really good team. If you can play without being spectacular and you can get an important 3 points, that's the mark of a good team. So I think we should be given that pat on the back as well. But also, an important 3 points at Stamford Bridge where we don't often perform very well. It was an away game, which again we've had a bad away form this season. I mean, our last few away games in the league have actually started to look a little bit better if you look at the last five. So we we definitely have a lot of pride that I think we can take from that game. I don't know what you thought about it.
Yeah, 100%. Just before I get on to the game, just for the chat to remind you that the competition we're doing is for teams, grounds that Newcastle United have played at in England, beginning with K. So that's the competition. So if you want to pop in your thoughts on that, and if you are watching, could you just whack that like button for? We've got quite a few
Give us a
watching and
like,
not a great
please.
deal of likes, so a few likes would be very, very much appreciated. In regards to the Chelsea game, to be honest, I went into that thinking we didn't have much hope, especially when I seen the team, the midfield. I thought, Jesus Christ, we're in major trouble here. Absolutely bare, massive trouble. So I don't come on here and fib if I don't think so. I thought the back four, he did clever with the back four because he played with best back four when there was speed in there, there was the pace in there to help out and to push forward as well.
Yeah,
So I think the
I mean, I
midfield,
think that's the. Oh, sorry.
no, go on.
I was just gonna say that was one of the points which that kind of preloaded it and built it up at the start of the show, and then I got to the point where I was gonna say it and completely forgot about it. Is that our good performances that we've had away from home against bigger teams have generally came with Tino Livramento and Hall back in the side, I mean, that was a back four that you would probably look at as being our first choice back four going forward, unless, you know, Tino Livramento leaves. But I don't think it could be overlooked that with our first choice fullbacks, we looked much more assured of ourselves at the back.
Yeah, 100%. As I say, I mean, it was a bit of a mismatch of a team simply down to the problems we had throughout the squad, the illness, and obviously players not being available. But I think having that back four in place really, really helps. You know, it proves that having, as you say, your best players in positions helps you defensively. Was it Ramsdale's first clean sheet as well for
First
we?
clean sheet, as far as I'm aware, that is his first clean sheet for ourselves. So I'm glad that you did mention that, because I think that we've all almost made fun of that to a point when we were talking about who was best between Pope and Ramsdale. We were like, well, yeah, Ramsdale's got good distribution, and I mentioned how well he seems to, communicate with the defense. But we all were saying he's never kept a clean sheet playing behind the black and white team. But that was, very well deserved. And I think if there's a goalkeeper, and I know this means nothing because it's just sentimental hoo-ha, but if there's a goalkeeper who's deserved a clean sheet this season, I think Ramsdale, with his performance over the past few games where he's came in for Pope, I think he's deserved a clean sheet. We do have an answer for
100%.
K, by the way, finally, with King Power Stadium,
Leicester City.
which I was just about to say is Leicester City. You cannot prove that I was not about to say that. But yeah, that was the only one we've had for K. Is there another one for K? Because I'm struggling to think of one.
I don't think so. Not that I had King Power Stadium. I must admit, I just wrote one team, one stadium down each. I should
No,
really
that's fair.
start doing this professionally and writing them all down. But no, King Power Stadium was mine. So we'll move on
Yeah, so
to
shout
L.
out to Gavin, who it was who got there at the start,
I
and
want to
he
say
was
KC Stadium. Is that one?
KC Stadium or Calvin Klein Stadium.
Could be. No, I might be wrong there. Right, so we'll move on to L. So any ground that Newcastle United have played in England, beginning with the letter L, and obviously we'll move. Unless there's anything else you want to say about the Chelsea game, Tina, or was that?
I mean that was pretty much my biggest point for the Chelsea game was that we had our fullbacks back in the team. It was a game. I think one of the talking points, and we will probably come onto this on Monday with Win and Gary, I would imagine, is Walter Maida playing in midfield again because we got the win. Did it work this time? I mean, he certainly looked a bit more sure of himself in that position than he has done. But I was when I saw the team lineup, I was kind of hoping still that somehow it was going to have Walter Maida up front. It worked out okay. I mean, Gordon scored the goal, but yeah, it's still seeing Walter Maida constantly playing in midfield, and I guess with with Tonali taken ill, I guess that would be okay. We've needed to bring a midfielder in, but I mean, we had other options, so it is a little bit of a question mark around that. But that would be the only thing that I think. But I think we'd need a bit longer than this show to have that full debate hashed out. So we'll keep that one for ourselves for Monday. For those of you who are watching and listening on DAB, that is on the NUFC Talk YouTube channel this Monday. At 8
Just the
o'clock.
one there that we had a chat in saying, great game on Wednesday. We welcome you to Catatonia with open arms. So I think we've got a Barcelona fan in the chat.
Hey, welcome to the
see
chat.
you.
Nice to see you. And yeah, very good game. We're all looking forward to coming over to Barcelona. It's always a big night. And yeah, I hope you have stocked up with your bars because our fans generally like a good time. So, but I'm sure it's going to be a great night again this week. Our fans generally travel quite good, and I hope it's going to be a fantastic game as well.
And we hope you won't be too upset when we beat you. So
And we'll drop Yamal back off as well because I think he's still in Lewis Hall's pocket as we speak. So we'll give you him back while we're over there. Don't worry. But much love, much love.
do you want to do? Should we do the next ground then? So we were on L.
We're on L, so we've got London Stadium in there from Monkey, who also said Loftus Road. But Brian Garr came out literally the second we said Second, we said L. He jumped in there with Loftus Road. By the way, you were correct. Powell has put Niall Powell. Sorry, Niall Powell has put in there that Hull plays at KC Stadium. So you were correct. That does exist.
There
But
you
yeah,
go.
well done, Brian. And then we are on to M.
Yep.
Yes.
So Loftus Road I had, and that was QPR who
Niall,
plays there.
don't jinx it. Don't jinx it. Sorry, what was yours? Sorry, I've just seen a chat from Niall. For those of you watching, he's came in and said, Christina, watch Lamau score a hat-trick now. So we're going to touch wood that that's not going to happen. And we're gonna ask Niall to shush. But yeah, sorry, what was your team for L there?
My team was Loftus Park, and it was QPR who played there. So just to say, we're on to M. So any team that Newcastle have played in England at a ground beginning with M. So we'll move on from last week, and we'll get on to the ladies' game now.
Yes.
Obviously, what were your thoughts on the game? I believe it was a 1-1 draw against Sheffield United, with Murphy scoring the equaliser after, is it Sherwood scored for Sheffield?
Sharecroft.
Sheckroff, sorry.
It might have been Sherwood, to be fair. I might be misremembering it. I always get a little bit more nervous when it comes to this bit and usually forget names. But yeah, well done. I'm Emily Murphy with a very well taken goal. We did, to be honest, we did hit the net. Just prior to that, I think it was Lawson who had scored. Who, as I had predicted last week, there was a little bit of rotation with Lawson coming in. We had Demi Stokes come back in, who took back over the captain's armband. And I was questioning whether it was going to be Hales or Murphy up front. But Lawson stuck a goal in. The whistle had blown just beforehand. And I've watched that back a few times. I'm still not 100% sure why Sheffield United were given a free kick. But yeah, it was I think I was disappointed by the end of that game that we didn't come away with a win. It was a game that, although we still kind of are the underdogs in this season, having only been being the youngest professional team in there. I did think Sheffield United, because although they've got a couple of games in hand, they are down in, I think it's 9th or 10th in the league. And it was probably of our next run of games, the easier one of those games when you look at it, and they managed to get a 1-1 draw. But Jordan Nobbs came very close to putting us a goal up. Molly Pike came close, and then obviously Hales at the end as well, with 2 chances nearly putting us up. But Sheffield United, to be fair to them, were scrappy, and they held on until the end. So we are now in 5th in WSL2. We do have a game in hand over the teams immediately around us. We've got 2 games in hand over Charlton, who still lead the league, but relegation, not relegation, where am I going? I told you I get nervous at this point, but promotion is it's hanging in the balance a little bit. However, our next game is against Crystal Palace, who is one of the teams that we have a game in hand over, and one of the teams who are above us, and I believe they currently sit in that playoff position in 3rd.
Ooh. So you think we're in the right direction, heading in the right direction?
Certainly heading in the right direction. I mean, I think we've put up a good show of ourselves this season.
So we're heading in the right direction. Yeah, we're going up the league.
Oh yeah. I mean, we're definitely, we're in a good place. We, that game in hand could prove to be massive, and that could be what gets us into that 3rd position. I think 1st and 2nd might be a little bit of a stretch now, but I'd love to see us going. Even if we just get to that playoff game, I think it's a massive feather in our cap.
100%. So have we had many for M yet, or are we still?
Yeah, so straight in there, I mean, we've had the Majeski Stadium mentioned. We've had, I think the other one was just the winner, which was Monkey came in very quickly and said Molyneux. Sean did mention that we missed Kenilworth for K.
Right.
But I don't know who's played there. But we've also got Main Road from Brian got mentioned there. Yeah. But yeah, it was definitely was it Brian who came in with that first one? No, it was Monkey who came straight in with Molyneux.
Go on, then I'll test you. Who played at Main Road?
Main Road? Oh, was Main Road defunct. Chelsea, Man City?
It was, yeah. Defunct now as a stadium. And who plays at Molyneux?
Molyneux, I've heard Molyneux. Was that Wolves?
It is, yeah. Well done. What comes
Let me do
after
my Harvey
M?
Bottoms.
What comes after M again for the next stadium?
N.
N. Yep. So
N.
any team Newcastle United have played at a stadium beginning with N in England, that's N for Newcastle. So, is there any news in the ladies' game? Was anything news that you had coming out, or was that about it for the women's game this week?
That was unfortunately pretty much it. Except obviously the continued goal scoring form from Emily Murphy. And I mean, we nearly got an absolute peach of a goal from Nobbs. To be honest with you, she tried to place one right in the top corner. It looked like it was badly hit, but if you actually look at how she's trying to place it, it was a good little shot, but it just didn't dip in time. But there's not a lot of news unless I've missed something, which I do apologise for. I was out last night and then I was out earlier today, so I only had time to catch the game. So if I have missed anything, ladies, I apologise, but I will no doubt bring that up for us next week.
And to be fair, I stayed in all night last night to prepare for this show, so that shows you why, I'm the professional of the channel.
Oh,
So,
really?
so moving on, we'll look at
Just
the
that
week
writes
ahead.
down one stadium for each quiz answer.
We'll move on to the week ahead. So I think the big thing this week is, which game is the biggest, Tina? Is it Barcelona away, chance to get through to the last 8 of the Champions League, or is it a Sunderland game against our local rivalries that we've lost against already this season? So chat you guys as well. Which game is the biggest game for us this week?
Yeah, chat. Let us know what you think is the biggest, because there are two big games, and I think fans are going to kind of 50-50 this one out. I think the Sunderland game becomes much bigger if we lose to Barcelona, whereas if we get a result against Barcelona, I think in the grand scheme of things, in my opinion, and chat, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong here, in my opinion, the Barcelona game is the bigger game. If we can progress to the next stage of the Champions League away at Barcelona, then I mean we're knocking one of the favourites out of the tournament, and we will get big cash flow coming in from that, and we move on to uncharted territory for Newcastle United. So for me, looking at it right now, Barcelona is the game that I rank slightly higher above it. I've got a couple. I mean, again, I said it was going to be 50-50. We've got two people have said Barcelona so far. No, actually, sorry, we've got three. But Lucky Singh is a Manchester United fan who does hang out a lot in chat and would love to see you in there. But yeah, so he might not be as in tune with the rivalry between Newcastle and Sunderland as some of the other fans are. There's definitely one shout out there in block capitals from Brian Penny, which is just Mackham's massive block capitals. So yeah, I mean, which game do you think, in all honesty, looking at it from now, which game do you see as the bigger one there, Boaky?
I hate Sunderland. I just want to beat them, no matter what. Yeah, I can't sit here and lie.
No, be
If
yourself.
it meant us winning, losing against Barcelona, going out the Champions League, I'd be absolutely devastated. But I can't sit here and say I want us to lose against Sunderland. I want us to win both games. But if it was sort of on my life, which one do you choose? I would choose the Mackhams. I can't stand we're having a season where the Mackhams doing the double over. Where,
Yeah,
imagine
that
having
would
to
be
go into
hard to
work.
take.
Imagine having to have the people that to support the dark side, and talk, eat the cheesy chips and things like that. Just don't allow it. We cannot lose against Sunderland, in my view, whatsoever. There is
No, and
no
I
way
get
that
that.
we lose against Sunderland. I don't know if you felt that I had a little bit of passion there about it, or I had a
It was.
particular opinion.
I was actually happy to see some of that Boaky passion there. We miss that sometimes.
Definitely.
Except when somebody says something that you disagree with, like, oh, actually, I think Eddie Howe's got a nice car. Eddie Howe's car. Let me tell you why he should be out of that car. But yeah, no, I get what you're saying, and it would be devastating to get doubled over by. That hasn't sounded good. I mean, for Sunderland to have done the double over us is what I meant there.
Yeah.
I think would be quite bad, and I don't think the fans would react very well to it. I also work with a Sunderland supporter who's one of the team leaders who does give me a lot of banter from time to time anyway. So, it probably wouldn't be great to have his team beat us twice. At the same time, though, Sunderland are 13th in the Premier League. A lot of people have said that we've kind of fluffed this Premier League season already. So, in the grand scheme of things, I think it is worth remembering that if we are going to qualify back for Europe, winning Europe might be our best shot at that, as wild as that sounds.
That's the problem this season, isn't it? Should we, before we go into each game, should we quickly pick up on the quiz again and quick one and on N we're
Yeah.
standing? Has anybody got an
Absolutely.
N?
I've only seen one, which was New Meadow Stadium. But apparently that's only been played at by the under-21s, not the senior team. Brian Garr, who's been really good for this whole quiz, it says even he's stuck on N. So I can't actually say. I don't think we've got an answer for N, but I'm guessing because you've included it in the that you've got. Oh, can I have a go? Is there New Dell Stadium? Is that one or
No.
no?
Don't
Is that
want us
not
to
a
give
real
you
stadium?
don't want us to give you the answer.
Um,
It's the New York Stadium, and it's Rotherham that play there.
that's
And
quite a long way to travel, isn't it, to the east coast of America for a Premier League game?
It could be New York and North Shields round down here. But
Yeah.
no, the New York Stadium with Rotherham playing there. I did have to double check myself whether we'd actually played there against the professional game, and we did. So that's the answer to that one. So we'll move on to O. So any team that we've played, any game that we've played in England at a ground beginning with O. That one's a little
We'll,
bit easier, I
we'll
think.
come back to chat who we asked to put their thoughts in there, because we do have a couple of shouts in there. I mean, Ryan
Want to
from
go through them now
Seattle.
then before we discuss each game individually?
Yeah. So no, I was just gonna like the ones that that've been mentioned besides the ones that I was talking about there is it's a sackable offence to lose twice against Mackems in a season for any coach, according to Niall Powell. Ronald Turnbull has said we have to believe we can win both, which is very much where I'm sitting on this one, that we can win both. Ryan from Seattle says that it's Sunderland, and his reason for this is because we are not likely to go much further in the Champions League and lose even if we. Sorry, hold on. Not likely to go much further in the Champions League, and loss or even tie will severely hurt European champions. So I think the way that he's looking at it is, although the Champions League would be good for us to progress in, the fact that we're probably not going to get much further in it makes the Sunderland game much more important to ourselves.
Hello,
And we've got Wazza in the chat. Yay!
And Connor as well, just asking all you guys to hit the like button, which if you can would be
Yes, please.
absolutely amazing. Just remind you that we're looking at grounds that we've played in the grounds that Newcastle have played with in England, beginning with O. And so, what's your thoughts on the Barcelona game then, Tina? What do you think the chances are there?
I think
Or we're just there for a nice holiday?
No, not at all. Not at all. I think our lads have shown that away days aren't as scary as they used to be, because, we've started playing a little bit better in away games, even in the Premier League. I think it's going to be a momentous occasion, and I think that's going to bring the best out of the players. I think, players such as Anthony Gordon are going to absolutely relish this chance to do something at the Camp Nou and to stick one over Barcelona. If we play anything like we did against them at our ground, which it's going to be harder, but maybe not as much harder as we would expect, because they're going to have their fans there, but the travelling Toon Army aren't exactly known for being shrinking violets. And sometimes at away grounds, that you look at when we went to Manchester City or when we went to Chelsea, sometimes it feels like you're in there at Newcastle because of how loud our travelling support is. So maybe that'll rock Barcelona a little bit. And we would just have to go in there with the intensity, with the attacking mentality that we had through the game that they played at our ground. Go in there with absolute no fear and just try to try to progress and try to get as good a victory as we can. Do you think we've got much of a chance?
There's always a chance while you're alive in something, isn't there? We're not behind. We're not going into the game with a deficit to make up. There's something to say that we can play if we play the right team. I think it depends a lot on which players we have back. I think if we have that back four, and then if we'll have obviously then Tino back. I don't think there's any chance with Bruno, but if Miley's back, if you have like a Miley, J7 and Tonali midfield, and then an up front three, there's a chance. There's always a chance. It's football. Anything can happen. We all
Yeah.
want it to happen. If Barcelona play at their best and we play at our best, Barcelona go through. Let's be honest. But if Barcelona have a slightly off night and Newcastle United up their game, there's every chance we can do it. Let's not go to say that we can't. Let's go into this week thinking, hang on, we're going to play Barcelona, and I don't want we're going into the game thinking, oh, it's Barcelona away, we're only Newcastle United. I think the attitude has to be, we are Newcastle United and we can go across and beat these guys. We're the same guys that went out and beat Liverpool in the Carling Cup. We're the same guys that, if they've
Carabao.
beat Carabao Cup, we're the same guys that have went out and beat Manchester City. We've had tough draws every round of every cup, and we've competed in everything. So, go out there, let's go out there and do our best. And I just hope Eddie gets the players up for the game like that. The whole squad has that sort of attitude. Bruno's back. I hope he goes across with them. Because
Yeah.
even though he can't play, I want him to be in that dressing room, being, the leader that he is, getting
Mhm.
them up, geeing up for the game. We need to go in there pumped, and we need everybody just needs to be on the game and absolutely go for it against them.
And
What
Bruno
do you?
being there might be the X factor.
That might be.
He is definitely a bit of a leader for the team. I think he inspires energy and excitement. So I think him just traveling with the team could be a massive little pick me up. It's going to be interesting to see how we line up. I think with Livermore Hall, I would imagine Chow and Burn, but there's question marks there. I think Tonali's back. Hopefully, he'll be playing. There is half a chance for Miley, which would be massive. But I think even with the players that we've had available to us, as long as we've got Tonali back, I don't see any reason why we couldn't go into this with full confidence. I would probably give Alanga a try down the right again, possibly with a view to bring Murphy on after Alanga's absolutely terrorized them and worn them out for 70 to 75 minutes. Um, where would you stand on Walter Mara for this? Would you give Walter Mara the run up front, or because the thing is, you've kind of got to play Gordon, and Harvey Barnes has came back into goal scoring form for us, so it's probably not going to be a good idea to take him out. But we've also got, Asula, Alanga, and Murphy, who you could see playing on the right. Do you think that means that it's unlikely that Walter Mara's going to get to play up front against Barcelona?
I think with Voldemort, he hasn't settled into the team at this point. We can question what's going on there, but you don't take the chance against Barcelona. Gordon's been playing there. Gordon's been the one that Eddie's wanted to play there the last few games. Go with it. We've won. We won against obviously against Chelsea. Go with that choice. Gordon scored in the Champions League. Do I think it's the right decision overall for the season? We can argue that after the game, but I can't argue before the game, and I won't come out after the game and say he was wrong in doing it, because it's the right thing to do at this point is to play Gordon up front. But I think the question mark is why we've got to the point that we have to play Gordon up front. So there's question marks about this decision making earlier, but at this point, it has to be Gordon up there. And
Yeah,
as I say, against Barcelona, you know, it's a hard game, but we can do it. We can do it. Don't worry too
absolutely.
much. We can do it. Anything else on the Barcelona game, Dina?
Yeah, well, I mean, if we just look at chat, and first of all, I'll just point out, me, I'm going to be going into, before that game starts, I am going to be convinced and trying to convince everybody else that we're going to do 5-0 against these, as I always do. I always get a little bit overexcited, before the game. So chat has had a little bit of input with us where we were because we might as well look at the lineup, even though we'll probably come onto that through the week. We do have, first of all, hello Lee, who came in chat, said all right, Boaky and Christina. We've got Niall Powell, who thinks it should be Gordon, Walter Maida and Alanga, so he would leave Barnes out. Niall, can you just clarify that for me? Would you then just leave? Oh yeah, he's then went on to say we've got our first choice fullbacks back with Tino and Hall, and we've got Alanga and Gordon, who could play tight to Walter Maida, which is fair. So I think Niall would leave Barnes out for this game, but we do have Tony, who's came in, and he has probably rightfully said that there's no way Miley starts after being out for that length of time. That is fair. That's a very fair comment. To be, I probably am getting a little bit excited thinking that there's a chance that he could play in that game. He's went very different with who he would play, though. He would start with, I've just lost it. Where is it? He would have Alanga, Barnes, and Gordon. So he would leave. So again, Tony, if you could just tell me, would you have Walter Maida in midfield, or would you be leaving Walter Maida out? Oh no, in fact, he's already answered that, because he would have the midfield of Tonali, Big Joe Linton, and Ramsey. So he would leave Walter Maida out for this game, which would, that keeps Walter Maida fit for the next game, I suppose. Or you could bring him on from the bench again after Gordon's ran circles around Barcelona for the rest of the time. And I think I definitely agree with that from a midfield perspective. I think Tonali, Big Joe Linton, and Ramsey would be what I would be looking at as what I would be hoping to see go out there against Barcelona. I don't know if you've got any thoughts on that there, Boaky.
No, I give my team. I think the one thing is, do you play Osula? Do you think to yourself, do we need a little wild card on the pitch, or do you have him to come on? And the other interesting thing for me is going to be whether Wissa comes on in the game at all. I'm really, really worried about where that lad's career's going now.
I think
He's not being used.
I think Wissa, when it comes down to Wissa, I would say maybe give him the Sunderland game. I would say if he's going to come on, give him the Sunderland game. I would start Walter Maida against Sunderland, because I think that's the game that affected him the most this season, when he scored, to be fair, the best header he scored this season, but he scored it for Sunderland against Newcastle. And I don't think he's ever fully recovered from that. But I would definitely think Wissa against Sunderland would be more his type of
Your
pace.
answer.
I'm not sure that I would give Wissa against Barcelona, especially not with Will Osula. I think Will Osula's still got to be buzzing. He's still got that high. So if you've got Walter Maida on the bench, you've got Gordon up front, and you've still got Osula, you've got a choice with Osula then. Do you bring him on for one of the wingers, or do you just throw that cat amongst the pigeons and let him take off up front as well? So I don't think Wissa, unless he's needed for the Barcelona game, I don't see him getting on.
No. So do we go O now for the stadiums?
Oh yeah, we've had it. We've had a lot of shouts. Obviously, the one that came in first, I believe, was Old Trafford, which was, actually, I'm lying. It was Brian Gar with Oakwell was the first answer, and then David Spence with Old Trafford. There was a couple of shouts for Old Trafford. Gavin came in with Olympic Stadium. We've also, nope, sorry, that was Osula. Yep. So those are the ones that we've got from there. I don't know if you had any different from there.
No, I had Old Trafford down with Man United, so exactly
Old
the same.
a nice easy one.
Just a quick one when we were mentioning Wissa there. Connors came in with a report from Lee Ryder. We'll probably go into this more tomorrow night, but he's saying that Wissa was fuming after last night's match and refused to be in the team photo. So, when they do the oi, oi, oi after the match, and he sent the picture through, and it does actually show that Wissa isn't there. That is a major worry now, isn't it? That if he's beginning to refuse to do things even with the team.
That would be him out for me. If that is true, and we can never know how true something is. He might have just had to leave. He might not have thought. But at this team, and we did have question marks about Wissa when we first brought him in, because he had kind of done an Isak he'd kind of down tools a little bit, and he was kind of trying to force a move. And there was a lot of fans, credit to them, who did say that they didn't like that from Wissam. And if he is, throwing huffs and refusing to be involved in the team photo, I don't see how you can bring him back into the team. I think our
No,
team's unity is kind of what is left of our identity now. So I
100%. I
absolutely
think we'll
wouldn't.
pick up on that tomorrow night because we'll be able to look
Yeah,
into it more. But so, was there any
definitely.
more O's, or do we move on to the next letter?
Let's move on to P.
P, correct. So P. So any ground Newcastle United have played at in England beginning with the letter P.
We're gonna have to
So
start speed running these as well because we are into the last 20 minutes of the show, unfortunately.
it's that's it. So if can you hit the like button because we are in the last 20 minutes, and
Yeah, give us a like,
so if
guys.
is anything else on Barca, or do we move on to the Premier League game?
That's absolutely fine. I mean, I think we've both said it against Barcelona. I think the team, except for what starts at the front line, almost picks itself. We just need to go in there and give that energy that we've showed in the first game, and go out there and cause the biggest upset in Champions League this season. Well, I would say the Bodo Glimt. Obviously, they're just doing their thing. But yeah, we've got to go and we've got to go for it. And to quote the great Eddie Howe himself, let's get into them.
100%. So then we'll move on to the cheesy chip eating brigade. Easy
Easy
for
for
me
you
to
to
say.
say.
So what's your thoughts on this game? It's an absolute must win for me, no matter what. What do you think?
I mean, I agree. I'm not going to catch any strays from seeing anything different from that. I think Sunderland, when we played against them last time, they were on a bit of a run. They were kind of the dark horses that came out of nowhere. They were really showing up in the Premier League. But since then, right now there's a bit of a gap between where they are and where Newcastle are. They've dropped off a little bit. They're not quite on that run. That little bit of excitement and that little bit of that new toy feelings worn off a little bit, and now they're back in the back on the shelf, shall we say, for that new toy, and it's back to business, and reality's somewhat struck. I think against us on next weekend, I think reality is going to strike, and they are going to find out that there is a difference in levels to this game. And much like when we find out when we play against Manchester City that there are levels to this, I've got a feeling Sunderland are going to find that out against us. And obviously, we'll come back to the Wisa thing tomorrow. But Walter Maida for me would have to start that game. You need to let him right that wrong, like Dr. Sam Beckett in Quantum Leap. Shout outs to any of you in chat that get that reference. But he needs to put right what once went wrong. And he needs to score an absolute Alan Shearer-esque header at the right end of the pitch against Sunderland and put his Newcastle United career back on track.
So I think a lot of people have put the sort of the Eddie House full situation on this game. Do you think if he does lose two derbies in a row, he loses at St James's Park against Sunderland? Is that a nail in the coffin going in? Is that sort of especially if we've gone out against Barcelona? I mean, the absolute nightmare of a week is we'll go out the Champions League against Barcelona, and those, as I say, as cheesy as beat we on the Sunday. That would just be
That would be
devastating.
quite tragic. I think, and to be fair, in regards to your point there, I think it definitely turns the pressure up from the fans. I think there are a lot of fans who will, join in the Eddie out shouters if we did lose against Sunderland at the weekend, especially if we haven't qualified against Barcelona. I think the Barcelona game could be a dampener for that, though. If we go out there and we absolutely spank Barcelona, I think us having a bit of an off day against Sunderland would be more expected, or more accepted. Sorry, but I still think there are some who, even if we do turn Barcelona over, say we do a Christina score against them and absolutely demolish Barcelona 5-1, there will be a section of fans who, even with that, if we then lose to Sunderland at the weekend, would still be devastated about that. I know there are a lot of people up here who take that game very seriously, and it's local rivalries are they mean a lot to people. So I can definitely, I don't think from a board perspective it's going to ramp much up or change much with Eddie, but I think it could be a risk of, like, if and I'm touching wood because it's not going to happen, but if we did lose against Sunderland, I think that there are going to be boos ringing out around that stadium, unfortunately.
So let's flip this round. This isn't going to happen. What will you feel like when we come and do this show next week, when we've beat Barcelona, we're in the last 8, and we've beat Sunderland, we're local rivals, and absolutely smashed them?
I'll be absolutely delighted, almost as delighted as I am to hear Was I drop a super chat there who has said, my support for you, awesome twosome, is always and forever. And I'm going to give that one a little like there. Thank you very much, Was I, for that super chat and for your ongoing support, not only to myself and Boaky, but to the full channel. You're always there for us and you're always tuning in. Back to what I was saying though, when we do beat Barcelona and go through into the next stages of the Champions League, and when we do turn Sunderland over, I'll be sat here on this show next week with that big cheesy smile on my face that you all get sick of seeing when we get a win, and I think rightfully so. I think it'll put a lot of I think it'll quell a lot of the reaction that Eddie Howe's got over the past 4 months really. If we do manage to progress in the Champions League and get a big result against Sunderland, so this could really be an important week. I mean, I'm going to try to downplay it a bit because I don't want to put that much pressure on ourselves or on my mental state. But yeah, this could be a massive week, really, especially for Eddie Howe standing with the Toon Army. I don't know how you feel about that.
I think it could be an absolute massive week for this season. We went into this month saying, it was a big month, March. It proved it was going to be make or break for Eddie, and it's been a bit bitty. We went out of the Carabao Cup. We went out of the FA Cup. We've done ups and downs in the league. These 2 games now, it makes or breaks the season for us. If we lose against Barcelona, that's no chance we're winning any competition this season. And if we lose against Sunderland, not only is it a downer against your local rivals, but it's also an absolute nightmare in the Premier League to try to get anywhere. So,
but here's
massive
the big
week,
question.
massive pressure, but we can do it. We can go out and beat these. Should we move on to P just quickly, Tina, because I'm just conscious of time?
We should, yes. So we had straight in there with Pride Park. Oh, sorry, no, hold on. There was one before. So there's Plough Lane from Lee, which came in pretty fast. I've never heard of Plough Lane. I don't know if that's...
I think what we should have said was that you have to name the teams that play there as well. I didn't think that.
Give us a chance, Lee. Tell us who plays there. We've got Preston Park, says Tony. I'm not sure if Preston now play there. We've got Pride Park from Gavin. Obviously, I've heard of that one. We've got
Derby, wasn't it, I think?
Oh, it's Prenton Park. Sorry for Preston. He does correct himself. It's lower down there, and that looks as if they're the only ones. The question for me there is whether Plough is a real stadium. If so, then Lee was the first one there. But then we will move on.
I'll give you a one that I know 100% is right. Is Portman Road.
Portman Road.
Do you know who managed there, Tina?
Who managed there? Was it Sir Bobby Robson?
It was Ipswich Town. Well done. So Q, there isn't one. So there's no grounds beginning with Q. So we'll move on to R. And he's only going to have a couple of minutes to do this one because, as I say, we're quickly running out of time.
We are running out of time, unfortunately.
So, any more thoughts on the
Sunderland game?
So
Lee does win that one, by the way.
Well done. Any more thoughts on the Sunderland game, Tina? Or
I mean,
go on, give a minute of positivity on how we're going to win this game, how we're going to absolutely smash them.
How we're going to win this game, because the last time that they played against us, we were a team with injuries, a team who had been through a torrid little time, and a team who the pressure of that game kind of took over. Now we're a team who's going to have knocked Barcelona out of the Champions League, got to the last 16 of the Champions League and beyond, and who have now started turning over bigger teams than Sunderland away from home. If Chelsea can't stop the Toon Army, then how on earth are Sunderland going to manage it? And, again, we're going to probably be having a lot of waste keys are these, because Tino Livramento, Big Dan Byrne, and Lewis Hall are going to keep some Mackems in their pockets, and they're going to be walking out with cars that they could only imagine owning themselves with the keys to them, because they're going to have been in the pocket for so long. Nick Walter-Mara, I'm going to predict him to score a hat-trick against Sunderland, and then that's going to be the kick-on for him for the best of the season to absolutely turn this year around, and then go into the season that I predicted was going to be the season that he arrived of next season on an absolute high because he's done that hat-trick against Sunderland.
Well, what I'm going to say is it's just lovely that the Sunderland fans get to come and see a proper football team at a proper football ground in a proper city. You know, they don't get that chance very often. We'll put the Metros on cheap for them, but they don't always take advantage of that. They'd rather have the cheesy chips. So, you know, it gives them the chance to come across, see a proper football club, you know, a Champions League football club that plays in Europe regularly now. You know,
And don't
so
worry. And by the way, if anybody wants to, become a sponsor of a show, get in touch, because this is where you could have been mentioned. But you can buy cheesy chips in Newcastle city centre. There are a couple of lovely takeaway establishments, which I'm not going to name again because no one's giving us anybody to do that. But yeah, you can get your cheesy chips up here in Newcastle. You can come. We've got some nice hotels. They'll probably, put on a bit of spread for you. Might even be able to import in some Panda Pop. We'll try to get the bubblegum one for you. And yeah, come up here, have a kebab.
we'll do R-Tina then. So it's stadiums beginning with R in England that Newcastle are playing.
So I've not actually seen one mentioned, but oh no, it was the one that I was going to mention has been said, and these ones are always going to come down to our rivals. So we've got the Riverside Stadium, which was the first one that was mentioned by Monkey. So Monkey got in there first. Niall Powell also then said Riverside. And then we've got Tony coming in with the one that I was thinking of, which was Roker Park. Which I've got a feeling Newcastle in this next game are going to tear Sunderland down quicker than Roker Park got torn down. And I'm going to pick QR. S is the next one, unless you've got one for R.
No, I had a Middlesbrough as well, Riverside Stadium.
Which was a nice stadium when it was first made, to be fair.
It was Selnet Stadium, it was called originally, I think. But yeah, we'll go.
Wow, knowledge is a bomb.
Tell you everything. So
S.
we'll move on from. We've got S, and we'll move on to. So we've done Sunderland. Obviously, we know now we're going to beat Barcelona and Sunderland this week from the
yep.
Had.
Christina has said so.
Just for the last few minutes, should we just go through a few players that contracts are up? We've discussed this during the week, but I don't think we had much of a say in it. Should we say older players that would you keep ourselves? So we'll start with Trips. What were your thoughts on him?
Trippier's a really hard one for me. I would love us to keep him, but because of what he's meant to this team, like when people talk about a Mount Rushmore of Newcastle, for me, Kieran Trippier's on there. And since he's came back in and had that run of games, I also think he started looking good. But provided we can replace him with a new signing, I would probably think this might be Kieran's last season. I don't know how you feel about that.
Yeah, I think it has to be. Unfortunately, the legs are beginning to go. He's getting a little bit older, so I think he's one that has to go. It's a shame. He's been a brilliant player, but let's not hang on to him too long and he loses his legacy. For me, he's probably the best right back I've ever seen play at St. James's Park.
By far.
You know, he came in on that season when we were going down. We were absolutely knackered. We were goosed. He came in and saved us.
Yep,
you know, he was the first one to sign. Yep, he was the free kicks. Just his general play, his general pick up on play. Absolutely amazing player. But unfortunately, time catches up with what all. Look, a win on this channel. I mean, we're going to have to put him out the rest at some point. So, you know, yeah.
I'll quickly do the S's just before we move on, just so we can get on the T, just so we're going to quickly segue past that comment that Wynn's going to hear. For S, we've got Selhurst Park was first in there with Monkey. We've got Selhurst Park mentioned by Tony. We've got the great, of course, we have to mention the fantastic Stadium of Light, which is where Benfica play their football. But yeah, that's and then we do have the other Stadium of Light mentioned by Wazza, which is the one that Sunderland play at.
I can't flash that one up on the screen, Wazza, but I completely agree with your terminology on that. Yeah. So we'll move on from S. The next one is
T. Even I know that one.
There's loads of T's because you can have the. So, you know.
No, don't, no, others. Give us
Go
a proper
wild,
one.
go wild in the chat with tea.
Go wild.
So
Spill the
moving on
tea.
from, trips. So I think we both agree we don't keep him with a contract wise. It's Shaw next.
Keep.
Do I need to even ask?
keep Fabian Schär. I think he's still got a good year left in him. I think Trippier's probably got a good year left in him, but I think we do need to probably upgrade that right back position. Centre back, however, we've got Chow, so we've already upgraded that centre back position. And I think Fabian Schär, for just the show, what he can do as a defender, he can carry the ball out of defence. He can score goals from ranges that most midfielders can't even do it. And we need a player who can shoot from outside the box. So why would you want to get rid of Fabian Schär? Which I'm saying now because I know you're going to try to upset me, which is why I'm telling you now the reasons why you should say that we should keep Fabian Schär.
I'm actually on the fence with Fabian Schär. If he gets back before the end of the season and can show he's still got the skill set and the way to do it, then fair enough. Keep hold of him. If he doesn't get back,
oh sorry, I thought you were finished. Sorry, keep going.
if he doesn't get back by the end of the season, then I think we're going to have two old defenders. Then you're going to have Byrne and Shaw. I think you can only afford to have one in a Premier League team.
There is already
if you don't know that they're going to perform. And the other thing is, I don't think it's fair on Shaw. If we do keep him, we're going to bring somebody younger in, and he just sits on the bench for a year. It's ruining the end of his career. So there's arguments either way. So but
there is rumours already though that he is going to get offered another 1 year extension.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, there was rumours that I was going to be manager of Newcastle. So
I think this will probably maybe prove a little bit what influence Wilson has, because with Shaw, I think Eddie Howe will 100% want to keep him. We know that for a fact. He loves certain players. He loves keeping players that he knows their style and things. So I think he'll want to keep him. I think it's up to Wilson maybe to say, hang on, Eddie, we need to bring a younger player in. We can't have an agent, just to constantly have an agent squad. We'll have to start, looking to sell on players and get what we can. Should we move on to tea anyway? Because we are rapidly running out of time.
We had a quick shout, which I did see that you put on the screen, which was Turf Moore from Monkey, who has been absolutely on the ball for these answers. I don't actually see another, although Lee has put in chat though that there are rumours that Shaw wants to stay just for me, which I can totally understand. And Wazza's obviously, he thinks it's
There's no accounting for taste, is there?
I'm not even going to comment on that, but only because we're running out of time. But yeah, Turf Moore seems to be the only one there.
Yep. I had the Dell, which was Millwall. There isn't a U. Yep, there isn't a U. So if we move on to V, I think we can do V very quickly because I dare say there's only one. So any ground that Newcastle United have played in begins with the letter V in England. So I think the last player we really need to discuss would be Murphy. Do we keep hold of Murphy or does he go? Obviously, I mean Jacob Murphy, not Alex Murphy.
I guess you were trying to get rid of Alex Murphy. I think you've got to keep Jacob Murphy. I think, although, to be fair, it is one of those positions that we do have an overload of, but we don't have another player who crosses the ball like Murphy. I think he would potentially be happy to stay and sit on our bench and play like the smaller games, if you want. So yeah, I think there is a lot of argument to keep Jacob Murphy, and also just how happy. I mean, did you see him against Chelsea? Like as the captain, because I think he'd had the captain's armband at one point through that game, hadn't he? Like he started, and at the end of the game, him celebrating with the fans, that right there, that little pocket of like 5 minutes where he kept running and sliding on his knees back to the crowd. That's why I want to keep Jacob Murphy, and I think you need a character like that.
Excellent. So, just a quick one. We had a couple of answers for V in the chat. Do you want to quickly do them, Tina? Because we've got seconds left before
we've got
Vicarage
Road, which was first said by Monkey once again. There was also mentioned by Lee and Tony.
Yeah.
We've also got Victoria Park for Hartlepool.
Yeah. Just to quickly say, I said the Dell for Millwall. It was the Den, so I apologise. Warren was very quick to pick us up on that.
We've got to keep on top of them, guys.
Yep. I'm going to do W because we haven't got time. So the place where we won our first cup in how many years? 70 years in domestic football, Wembley. and there isn't one for XYZ, so we can end the show there quite happy. Any quick final thought, Tina? You've got like 2 seconds, so
My final thought is only that we do have a show coming on straight after us, I believe.
yep, we've got Jamie's show, the comparison, so keep tuned for that, guys. Thank you very much
Please
for
do
watching,
tune in on
and
that.
it's
Please drop a like before you go, and I will see you in chat on Jamie's show as well to interact with all of you.
excellent. So thank you very much. To keep tuned for Jamie's show, and we will see you on Monday. See you later,
We will
guys.
indeed. Take care. Good evening, everyone.